Okay, so now we get to talk about application and sensitivity. So we're going to get in touch with our sensitive side, y'all. Now, to start with, we're going to talk about the three different ways we can use aromatics, right? So we all know they're aromatics, it's aromatherapy. So the first way we can use aromatics is by smelling them, by taking them up aromatically through our nose. And then when we do that, um, they are mostly affecting our emotion and our mental and energetic state. So we'll be talking a lot about aromatic use as we continue this lesson. Um, and then when we use them aromatically, there's a couple different ways we can do that, right? So we can just simply uncap this bottle and smell it, okay? So I can take my Roman chamomile, uncap it, and I can already smell it from this far away. It's so awesome. But obviously I would bring it a little closer and I would do mindful breath work, taking at least 5 counts in if I can, and then exhaling through my mouth 6 counts. Now, Roman chamomile, I could honestly be in that type of mindful breath work all day long. I love this scent. It's wonderful. Okay. The other way that I could use this aromatically is to drop it, a few drops of this in a diffuser and just have the diffuser running for a while. I could also add this to personal diffuser jewelry, right? Which is a form of passive diffusing. Or I could use it in a passive diffuser where you put it down at the bottom and then it wicks itself up and lets it in there. I could also put a couple of drops of this on my pillow or other areas, a drop on a post-it note, right, if I'm at work. So those are all different ways that we can use the essential oil aromatically, right? So now the second way that we can use our essential oils is topically. I know a lot of you, when we are working together, you get a lot of wonderful aromatics used on you topically during your sessions. So you're very familiar with this. So we can use them neat, putting them on directly from the bottle topically. We can also dilute them, which I do in session with using them with the carrier oil. So we're applying the essential oil at the same time we're putting the carrier oil on in order to dilute it, which allows it to absorb into the skin a little bit more readily and allows it to stay in the area that we're putting it in a little easier, right? We can also put it into a compress. We can also use a clay pack. We can also dilute it into a lotion or ointment or cream, right? So there's lots of ways that we can use an essential oil topically. Some people would consider a bath topical application, and then some people would consider a bath more internal because the essential oils have access to our mucous membranes. So wonderful ways that we can use stuff topically. Now, going down to the I stands for internal use. And internal use can be a little tricky. I mean, obviously, there's the obvious one, right, where we're ingesting the essential oil, whether we're using some type of dispersant and we're putting the oil in our beverages, or we're adding the essential oil to a recipe, or we're putting them in capsules and ingesting them, okay? But then also internal use could be using a mouthwash or a toothbrush, toothpaste, right? Adding it that way. It can also be if you're using any aromatics or hydrosols right in or around the ear area because that's going internally into the body. So in that sense too, if we're using any type of pessaries or suppositories, those are all different types of internal use. Okay, so now I wouldn't recommend that you are using essential oils internally unless you're working directly with a certified aromatherapist in order to ensure that you're using the appropriate aromatherapy product at the appropriate strength for the appropriate amount of time in order to address what it is you're trying to address. Okay, and this way, if there's any type of adverse reactions, your certified professional registered clinical aromatherapist can give you all the information you need to provide to your doctor in order to mitigate any adverse reactions. Okay, so I say that not because adverse reactions are super, super rare. I say that because adverse reactions are adverse reactions, and when they occur, you want to have all the information you need in order to alleviate them and in order to get back to health. Okay, so I don't want you to have an adverse reaction. I want you to be able to use your essential oils safely and effectively and for the least amount of time necessary, because my goal isn't for you to have to be on a hot compress on your shoulder, for a year. I don't want you to have to be doing these types of things for an extended period of time, just long enough to give your body the tools that it needs in order to feel better. Okay, so now we're going to flip over from the application side to that sensitive side. This is an area that, again, can be confusing for a lot of people, and most people just like to focus on the sensitivity of the skin. Which is okay, and we know about the sensitivities of the skin, but we also want to be mindful of the sensitivity of our aromatic use, okay? So an N stands for neat. This means that topically, right, if I pull my shoulder, I can grab my bottle of copaiba, I can put a few drops of this on my hand, and then I can apply it just directly to my shoulder every 30 minutes, every hour as needed. Okay, and if I'm doing that, I can do that for up to 7 to 10 days in order to support my body as my body is trying to heal in an acute situation. Okay, I could take my lavender, okay, if I get a cut or a scrape, and I could just apply the lavender directly to that cut or scrape, right? Put my antibacterial ointments on it, cover it up, and be good to go. And I could reapply every time I took my bandage off for the next 7 to 10 days and be totally fine with that, right? After the 7 to 10 days, though, I don't want to put these on directly anymore. I want to put them on in a diluted manner. Okay, for most of us adults, the dilution rate for most things is going to be just 3%. Okay, special situations, and if you're pregnant, you're going to push that all the way down to 1%. Obviously, children, it's going to be going down the spectrum depending on their growth rate. Just like they're not going to be taking adult doses of aspirin or Tylenol or ibuprofen, they're going to be taking child doses. And the same thing with younger children, with infants and younger toddlers, right? They're going to be having an extremely low dosage because their bodies are very efficient at what they're doing and growing and coming to homeostasis, right? So they don't need as much as we do as adults, where our body is sluggish and slow, and it's just accepted our routines as normal, right? So that's kind of the topical neat application, right? So we're going to go down with each of these talking about the topical side, and then we'll review them going through the aromatic side. So there are some aromatics that need to be diluted if you have sensitive skin, okay? So you know your body, you know yourself, and this is where using some common sense comes in. If you know that you use products with lavender in it, lavender fragrance in it, and you break out, then you know what? You're not going to ask me to bring lavender to your home. Okay, this lavender is going to stay here. And if you're coming here with me to see me in my home office, then this lavender is staying up on my shelf, right? And everything that I've used is obviously being wiped down. Sheets and everything are sanitized in order to keep you from having any type of irritation from this product, okay? So some people know that they just have slight reactions, okay? And so if you have a slight reaction because you have sensitive skin, then all of the essential oils that you use, if you're going to be putting them on your skin, need to be diluted, Okay, so for home use, what does that mean? It means that you're going to put a dime size pool of carrier oil, sorry, I can't see, of carrier oil in your palm. And then you're going to put 1 drop of essential oil in there. Now, if 2 drops fall, you're going to increase it to a nickel-sized pool of carrier oil in your palm. You're going to rub that together, and then you're going to apply it where you want to apply it. Okay, so this allows the chemical constituents that are very potent inside those 1 or 2 drops of essential oils to now be spread into half a milliliter or a full milliliter of carrier oil in order to allow your system to accept that potency, those therapeutic properties, and to not have an adverse reaction to it. Okay, so now going down here, there are some aromatics that should just always be diluted regardless of if you have sensitive skin or not. Okay, and so for these aromatics, you do want to have good dilution rates. Okay, a 3% dilution rate, which is 23 drops of the essential oil to 1 ounce carrier oil, or 1 ounce lotion, or 1 ounce ointment, or 1 ounce of the clay pack, or whatever it is you're going to be using, is absolutely necessary with these essential oils because they are known to be skin irritants. Okay, they're known to be hot, to burn, to irritate the skin and the mucous membranes. Okay, so a great example of this is oregano. I don't have my oregano here right now, but my husband will attest. He's kind of crazy, and we were at home, and I was dropping oregano. This was during pandemic. We were using oregano, and I was dropping oregano in capsules. And there was a few drops of the oregano left in the bottom of the bottle. You know how sometimes they get at the very, very bottom, right? And they're not dropping out. And so I had uncapped it, and I was just gonna, take the dropper and drop those few drops out. And he was like, oh, no, 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 I'll just put this in my water and drink it. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And this is why you don't do it, right? And it was not good. It was not good at all. So I immediately had him, drink, I think he drank almost half a gallon of milk to calm down his crazy mucous membranes. So these are things where, like I'm saying, use common sense. And if you have people like my husband at home, maybe don't use essential oils near them. But yeah, okay, so there's those things, okay? So talking about sensitivity for aromatic use, right? Some people are very sensitive to smells, okay? So if I know somebody is extremely sensitive to smells, I'm not going to have them directly smell something from the bottle, okay? It's always going to be done through a diffuser. It's always going to be done maybe even inside of a carrier oil to help disperse the scent of the essential oil and not be so potent, right? And there's going to be some essential oils that I'm not going to use with them because they have sensitivities to those specific smells, right? And there's going to be some essential oils that I'm always going to dilute because essential oils like cinnamon are super, super strong, and you don't want to be holding them up to your nose for an extended period of time, like 10 minutes of mindful breathing, because it's just too much. Same thing with nutmeg, okay? So those are always going to be dispersed through a diffuser, or it's going to be on a passive diffusion, right, through personal jewelry, and I'm just going to be inhaling it because it's around me, and I could take a couple whiffs quickly, right, but I'm not going to be 10 minutes with it right in my face, right in my nose, okay? So I have these letters on here because my original essential oil education materials came from doTERRA, and this is how they label their stuff. So as I'm talking about specific essential oils in the future, you'll see me use these letters with these colors to help designate them as far as being how you can use them and what the sensitivity is for them, just to kind of give you a heads up, and you can look for that information. Okay, we'll see you on the next slide, which we're going to be talking about our warnings. Warning, danger, Will Robinson, danger.